Welcome to another Georgia prison war story.
The New York Bloods versus the Georgia Bloods. Dorm C2 in Macon State Prison was one of the worst dorms on the compound, and it was far from peaceful. 79 Georgia-born inmates out of 96 men called it home, and nearly 21 of them flew the red flag. Bloods ran deep here, different sets, sure, but most Georgia Bloods stuck together depending on the circumstances. The unspoken rule was Sowu first, everybody else second, but prison is fluid. Nothing stays the same for long. Over a span of 3 weeks, the officers rolled in a new wave of transfers. 9 new inmates. All were Bloods, but they weren't local. They came in with accents thick like Harlem winter coats. Some having done time in Rikers Island, New Jersey, and upstate New York, dropping slang and showing off new ink. All 9 of them were Eastcost Bloods. They were flashy, talked loud, walked harder, and most of all, they had money. Their locker boxes stayed stacked. 2 of them had 6 locker boxes between themselves. J-Pay was on tap. 4 of them wore designer sneakers and free world clothes. And they didn't break bread with none of the country boys in the dorm that represented what they repped. That was the problem. The Georgia Bloods watched, waited, murmured about them New York niggas and plotted. Some of the older Georgia gangsters tried to keep it cool. They seen these types before. Young niggas with chips on their shoulders and something to prove. But this group, they were cocky. One even told a female CO that these Georgia gangsters were softer than terry cloth bathrobes, eliciting a snicker from the baddie who was enamored with northern accents. Word got around quick. In prison, pride was more dangerous than a shank. Trayvon Snap Johnson, the acknowledged head of the Georgia Bloods on the compound, took it personal. He'd put in real work, inside and out, and wasn't about to let some Yankee-ass loudmouth throw off the whole dorm's balance. Let him breathe, he told his circle, for now. But eyes stayed open, ears stayed listening, and hands stayed ready. Snap was 6'2", all muscle, with 4 gold fronts and a mean hook shot. He was from the Pittsburgh neighborhood in Atlanta and ran the Georgia Bloods at Macon State, not just with muscle, but with respect. When he walked through the dorm, voices dropped, cards paused mid-hand, chess games were reset, respect wasn't demanded, it was expected. So when Ra Money Ortiz, a 5'11" firecracker from the Hollis Queens, decided to turn a pickup basketball game into a street war, it didn't sit right. The game started normal, 5-on-5, NY versus Georgia. The concrete court outside the small yard was barely regulation, with a warped rim and cracked pavement. But pride made it the garden. Trash talk flew like elbows. Y'all country-ass niggas soft down here, Ross said, after draining a contested 3. This what the South got? Being an OG, Snap wasn't one to talk, and when it came to hooping, he let his game do it. Late in the second game, tied up, Snap drove down the lane for a dunk. Ra Money stepped in, but he didn't go for the ball. He went low. Snap's leg twisted beneath him with a sickening crunch. He didn't scream right away. The yard went quiet. Then Snap bellowed, a deep primal roar that echoed off the prison walls. The officer on shift rushed outside. The up-top Bloods backed off, smirking. But they knew what they had done. Snap was wheelchaired up to medical, pain medicine already dulling his senses. But before the doors to the infirmary closed, he locked eyes with his second in command, a short, stocky dog named Marquez Zabo Walton. It's a green light on all them. Y'all go ahead and handle that business, Snap growled. Zabo nodded. The next 24 hours were quiet, deceptively so. The Eastcost Bloods thought they'd won something, dominance maybe, even respect. They were wrong. The first strike came in the showers. Twin, a loudmouth from Brooklyn, was alone. 2 Georgia Bloods moved in like shadows. No blicks, though, just fists, elbows, and knees. When Twin stumbled out of the stall, bleeding from his lip and eye, the message was clear. It was on. That night, nobody slept easy. The officer didn't notice the shift and didn't say much. Conflict between inmates wasn't just common. It was expected. Let them bleed a little. Save the real response for when it got loud. The following day, New Jersey Devil, a Blood from East Orange, New Jersey, was posted up by the microwaves waiting on his soup to cook when Zabo cracked him across the back with a snapped-off broomstick. G-check, stepping over him, Zay said, stepping over him. The New York Bloods tried to regroup. Ra Money pulled them into a circle during their 15 minutes in the multi-purpose room. They testing us. And we not folding, he said. BX, a tall, wiry dude with a scar across his cheek, spoke up. We either clap back or get stepped on. But another New York dude, Shamustax Bradley, shook his head. We outnumbered, bro. They 20 deep in this block, son. It's only 9 of us. Ra slammed his fist on the table. Then we make a move. I'll talk to that OG if I can get his mad. No way this about basketball. That shit was an accident, but it was. It was about basketball, money, respect, power, all of it tied into one knot that was tightening by the hour. Raw Money tried to set up a meeting. He couldn't get his phone number, so he asked the CO to relay the request to Snap in the infirmary. Word came back, no talking. Y'all niggas fool, bruh. That night, a Georgia Blood holding a sock filled with batteries tried to hit BX on the side of the head while he was getting ice, but he weaved just in time and pulled out a machete, which caused the shorter gangster to back away. The next day, the officer found a homemade blade taped beneath a bunk. A lockdown was announced for C2. 2 days, no wreck, no chow hall, just trays through the slot and whispers in the dark. Lockdown didn't stop the tension, it just bottled it tighter. In the pitch black of 3 a.m., inmates whispered through the vents. Wait till them doors pop. Them New York niggas soft, bro. They ain't built like that. The Georgia Bloods spent that time sharpening both their metal and their plans. When the doors finally opened on Friday morning, the dorm looked normal, but it wasn't. Snap had been released from medical but was placed in G building. He was still calling shots and his orders were still the same. Finish it before they do. That morning at chow, 2 East Coast Bloods didn't go get their trays, opting to eat back in the dorm. Paranoia had taken hold. Raw Money, though, kept his head high. Ain't no backing down. If they want it, they gonna get it. And they did. That afternoon during shift change, the officers were lighter than usual. Some of them even looked the other way. Everyone knew something was coming. By 6:37, the dorm erupted into a battleground. It wasn't a fight, it was a coordinated strike. The Georgia Bloods swarmed like locusts, hitting the up top clique in waves. Their bowls of food and Kool-Aid cups sitting on the metal tables were overturned. Bone crushers flashed. Screams bounced off concrete. Raw Money held it down, using a trash can lid as a Roman shield to complement the sharpened lawnmower blade machete he bought from one of the Migos on the grass cutting detail. He slashed 3 of the country boys good, but too many more came at him at once. Stacks went down first, back ripped open from 2 short gangsters swinging their blickies wildly. Twin was a beast and stuck his bone crusher through a Georgia boy's right eye socket, crushing the eyeball immediately. Blood and mucus gushed down his face as he screamed in pain. And BX? He was able to carve up everything that came within a foot of him, but when he slipped in a puddle of coffee spilled on the floor from an overturned cup, he almost lost it all when several angry Georgia Bloods swarmed him, poking him relentlessly. Before an army of officers and CERT team members stormed the dorm yelling for everybody to go to their cells and spraying mace, as if it was Febreze air freshener in a doo-doo smelly bathroom after a 600-pound fat chick just finished using it. When it was all over, the down south boys won the battle despite one of them losing his life from severe head trauma. All of the New York Bloods had to go to free world hospitals but later earned their respect for fighting so fiercely. This story should be a lesson for any YN listening to never join a gang, because you'd have to participate in nonsense like this over a simple basketball game injury, which could result in you losing an eye.